Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Prospector Protocol. This is week number 2, and today I'm going to be talking about how the subconscious mind works. So you may have heard people throw around the term subconscious. I know I've heard about it for years, even before I even understood it. And so most people really don't understand what the subconscious is and how powerful it is. So exactly what is the subconscious mind? If you do a quick Google search, you're going to see the definition as concerning the part of the mind of which one is not fully aware, but which influences one's actions and feelings. And the word sub means beneath or below. So in other words, it's below the conscious mind. But don't get it confused. So you see in the image right here on the left, the conscious mind is operating 5% of the time. That's our creativity. That's when we're excited about something new, when we're paying attention to something. Any other time, 95% of everything that we do, think, feel, act is unconscious behavior, right? So here's a couple of things that you might not have known about the subconscious mind. Again, the subconscious mind controls 95% of our life. The subconscious mind is always awake, is always listening, is always aware, and is always soaking everything up around us. The subconscious mind is habit-based, and I'll get back to that in a moment. The subconscious mind takes everything literally, is present-based, is like a computer processor, is prejudiced, and most importantly, is fully programmable, okay? So let me just go through each of these again one by one. So 95% of everything that we do. So in other words, remember last week when I said everything is cause and effect, action, reaction. Once it becomes subconscious and is second nature, I no longer have to think about it. I just automatically do it, which means I'll automate the action and I automate the reaction or the response that type of action gets. So in other words, if your number one salesperson on your team shows up at a specific time, he shakes hands firmly, he looks in the prospect's eyes, he offers them, a bottle of water when he sits down to talk to him. You want to copy the exact same thing, okay? Because obviously it's working. And what happens a lot of times, people have what's called unconscious competence. They get results, but they don't know why they get the results. Because maybe they were just raised with certain behaviors and habits that were beneficial for them later on in life. But me and you may have grew up differently, and we have to try a little harder to train ourselves to have these certain habits so we can reap the same results that they're getting. The subconscious mind is always awake, is always listening, it soaks everything up around us, it remembers everything. So that's why when you see people go through things like hypnosis, or maybe they're in that state between being awake and sleep, you can recall a lot of things that you forgot. You remember where you lost your keys, or you remember where you lost your favorite toy when you were a kid. A lot of things we can't tap into normally with our conscious mind. When we tap into the subconscious, and there's different practices that you do in order to do that, you're able to recall a lot of things and you're able to get a lot of ideas, inspirations. Is really amazing. So again, everything is habit-based. So in other words, our predominant behavior, emotion, and thoughts, our subconscious tries to automate that to make things more efficient. So we no longer have to focus or think about tying our shoe or think about walking up the stairs and these type of simple things that we've mastered at this point. That moves to the 95% unconscious mind. So we can stay focused on the conscious 5% that we're walking around looking through. So again, the subconscious takes everything literally. So in other words, if you say, I will get a job, or I will be rich one day, or one day things will change, your subconscious will always make sure you stay in that space of one day it will happen. One day I'll be rich, right? You'll never see opportunity for right now because you've told your subconscious that it's going to happen one day. But when you give it a specific date and time, your subconscious mind starts to work on overdrive to start to bring back things that are going to help you get there, because it's like one big problem that it wants to solve for you, right? And so it works like a computer processor, and it's prejudice. So one thing that I like to say is we don't see what's real. We see what we feel. You see people who have experienced trauma. Maybe they've been abused by, the opposite sex or whatever the case is. So one day you might walk past someone on the street that resembles the person who abused you or assaulted you, and you start to freak out, or you start to, sweat and hyperventilate because your mind said that's him, or this is going to happen all over again, right? So our mind kind of paints over our reality. So we never really see what's real or what's going on. It's always a subjective reality. We prejudge things and throw everything in the same box if it looks similar. Once we see a cue and say, oh, well, that looks like this, the brain says, got it. This is happening all over again, or I know what this is. It wants to jump to assumptions to be more efficient for you, so it takes less energy for you to try to figure things out. But the great thing is it's fully programmable. And warning, you must be willing to be uncomfortable. For example, if you want to know how hard it is sometimes to create a brand new habit, try to create a habit of writing with your opposite hand. So I'm right-handed predominantly, but if I want to see how long it takes for my subconscious to register something brand new as a habit, I might say for 21 days, I'm going to try to write my name or write a sentence with my left hand. It's going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to hear that voice in your head that says, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? Can I stop now? It's going to be the same type of negative noise in your mind as you have when you do anything brand new, like marketing online, like starting your own business. So once you go through that process with something simple like flossing every night or writing with the opposite hand, and you see, okay, well, that only took me about 21 days for that to become second nature. And now I don't even think about it. I just do it. Then you could start to think, wow, how can I apply that same process to something else brand new in my life? So how to reprogram your subconscious mind. There's multiple ways. Here are a few of my favorites. The quickest way to either reprogram a habit or add a brand new habit in your life and lock it in within the subconscious is to have high emotion and repetition. And so if you think about it, it's the same whether it's a negative emotion or it's a trauma like a car accident. You may not have had the habit of looking both ways before you cross the street when you were a kid until you almost got hit by a car. Now that was so high emotion and traumatic that you make sure from that day forward, you always look both ways. So it didn't take a lot of repetition. You get it? Because the emotion was so high. It was so scary. Your life flashed before your eyes. So you didn't have to have a lot of repetition. You had the high emotion. Now, on the other hand, when you're trying to do something like write with your opposite hand, you're not going to have a lot of excitement and high emotion with that. So it takes more repetition. And so you may have heard that it takes about 21 days on average to create a brand new habit. Well, it's actually between 21 to 66 days. So when I start out to do a brand new habit, I'll always make sure that I plan it out for 66 straight days. And I give myself small rewards like dark chocolate or a smoothie or something like that so that I can enable my subconscious to get excited about doing this new task. Because what happens is when we think about doing something like, say, making a speech or a presentation in front of people, our mind automatically looks for the emotion that we associate with that. So if I got laughed at during a presentation in high school or something, right? My mind will automatically skip past the thing and say, how do we feel about that? Oh, that was traumatic. So every time moving forward, I have to do public speaking or it looks like I'm about to have to do that. I'm going to get goosebumps. My stomach's going to drop. I'm going to sweat and be petrified, right? Because our mind looks for the emotion. So the way to overcome that is practice and repetition on a smaller scale and work your way up and it becomes second nature. So binaural beats is a really, really cool invention. I think it was done by this guy named Robert Monroe from the Monroe Institute. I believe he was an electrician and playing around with different wires. And he discovered that when you mix different frequencies, for example, if I had my headphones on and in my left ear, I'm playing a tone that registers about 10 hertz. In my right ear, I'm playing a tone that's 20 hertz. So what's then going to happen is your mind is going to try to bridge the gap between both of those variables. So it's going to try to meet it in the middle. So you have 10 on the left, 20 on the right, and your brain is going to meet it at 15. So in other words, if I know that I can go into a hypnotic state or I can go into deep sleep at a certain hertz, right? Say it's 15, then I can induce that and force my brain to go into it by just putting on headphones and listening to binaural beats. It'll automatically happen no matter who you are, as long as you just sit there and you're relaxed, right? So one of my favorite ways. Also, affirmations. So affirmation is basically like prayer, because what does it say in the Bible? Ask and believe that you've already received. So affirmation is like you're affirming that it already happened. So I am a public speaker. I am a millionaire. I am wealthy. You know, all of these things that you want to manifest, remember, your subconscious takes everything literal and it's a present based process. So you don't want to say one day I will or one day I'll be rich, because your mind will always show you how, nope, you're not ready. One day though, one day. So if you say I am rich, I am wealthy, I am happy, I am X, Y, and Z, your mind, your subconscious will start to show you proof, will start to gather evidence from all around you to validate your belief. So there's a great book called The As If Principle. I showed that in last week's slides. One of my favorite books, top 3 favorite books. And it explains all about this and literally how you bend the universe around you in order for you to manifest things once you feel that it's already here. It already happened. It's an amazing principle. Meditation and mindfulness. When you start to quiet the mind, you'll have something called the monkey mind. So in other words, most people, when they try to meditate for the first 10 minutes, right, your mind's going to go crazy. Like, what are we doing? I mean, I'm not doing it right. I got to be doing something wrong. Why am I still thinking? Why am I thinking about thinking? Your mind starts to go crazy. But once it starts to settle down a little bit, you start to see the thoughts and the feelings that fire off, without you automatically. And you start to kind of audit your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts. And you see where everything derives from, because the subconscious is the operating system that we navigate through this world with. So remember when I said we see what we feel, not what's real, and we prejudge things based on our experiences and our subconscious beliefs. So when you start to audit and take note of those beliefs, you can then write them down and change them one by one. So if you're scared of public speaking, you can go and look up all of the experts who cover how to get over fear of public speaking, and you can check out the principles and practices that they have figured out over time that are proven to work, and you can begin implementing them and replacing your old habits and your old beliefs and your old thoughts with those proven principles. And so that's why meditation and mindfulness is very, very powerful and is key. I mean, you look at people like Steve Jobs, Russell Simmons, Jerry Seinfeld, all of these people practice mindfulness and meditation. And it's for a reason, because it works. And so this brings me to the Don't Break the Chain challenge. And I actually learned this from Jerry Seinfeld, speaking of Seinfeld. And the way that it works, basically human nature, we do things to avoid pain and gain pleasure. So we go towards things that give us pleasure and we move away from things that we are scared of, right? So when you do the Don't Break the Chain challenge, for example, I've exercised an hour a day for almost 4 years straight, and I haven't missed a day, period. But in the very beginning, it was the hardest. And I'll tell you why it's so easy now. In order for me to ingrain that brand new habit in my mind years ago, I started the Don't Break the Chain challenge, because as you can see in the image to the bottom right, every time you do that brand new habit, you make an X, 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 X. And over time, it starts to become one big long chain that's just going throughout your whole entire calendar. So 2 things are going to happen. You're going to have the fear of breaking that chain. The longer the chain gets, you're seeing a visual reward of how your hard work is paying off and is adding up. So you're seeing that compound effect. And then also you're going to be scared of breaking the chain, because once you have, say, 21 days or 66 days of X's going straight across, you're going to then say on that day that you're tired or you're beat or you're sick or whatever the case is, you're going to say, look, I came this far. I can't break the chain now. So it's easy when you don't have any accountability in front of you. But what you do see is that visual representation of how well you've been doing, and you don't want to blow it. So again, you're avoiding pain by not breaking the chain, and you're gaining pleasure by seeing the chain grow longer and longer and longer with each day. So it's kind of a built-in hack to motivate yourself to keep going until it's second nature, and then you can move away from the calendar. This is just what you do now. It becomes a lifestyle at that point. So basically what helped me understand how the subconscious works is I look at it like a basset hound. When you give the dog a scent and then you send them out to go get more evidence or track down that thing that you're looking for, the subconscious works the same exact way. So based on your primary belief or your predominant thought or emotion, your mind wants to go give you more and more evidence to strengthen or prove that belief. So if you believe that the world is harsh and people are mean and everyone's out to get you and stab you in the back, you're going to see that everywhere you go, because your subconscious is going to say, your wish is my command. That's the reality that you believe. So we're going to give you supporting evidence. So the part of your brain that actually does this is the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. And this part of your mind is directly responsible for prioritizing your predominant thoughts. So in other words, we have thousands of thoughts every single day, right? But there's a filtering process that says, well, Rodney's been thinking about this red car. He saw this red Corvette and he can't stop thinking about it since he saw it last week. So now every time I drive, I see Corvettes or I see red cars everywhere I go, because my reticular activating system said, let's prioritize this on the top. Forget those other thoughts, because this one has the predominant strength behind it. He has so much emotion and he thinks about it so often. We want to bring this forward. We want to give him evidence so he can achieve this, so we don't have to keep thinking about it, right? So that's how the mind works. It looks for efficiency. It wants to solve that problem so it can say, okay, what's next? And so lastly, why do we want to program the subconscious? If you look on the left side right here, there's a quote, and I love this quote. It's by a guy named Carl Jung. And it says, until you make your subconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And you'll see a lot of people with an attitude like, oh, that's easy for you, or things come easy for you, or, I have bad luck. You don't understand, right? And I can't stand that, because people don't know that they have some type of input. You have control. You are a co-creator in this universe. And so once you begin to grasp that concept and you begin to start to take control of your actions, you can then better control your reactions. So instead of thinking the world just happens to you, audit what you're bringing to the world, because every output first had an input. So you're not helpless, and everything that has happened to you up until this point is just an experience. It's just something that happened to you that doesn't determine who you are or how the rest of your life is going to go. Once you understand that, it's a very, very powerful feeling to have, and to know that you create your life, whether it's good or bad. And at that point, you can then purposely manifest the reality that you want, and you will become unconsciously competent. You ever see someone that runs around and, I know when I was a kid, you had some guys that can talk to the girls and, they were real smooth and cool. And you would look like, man, I don't know why it's so hard for me, or why do I get nervous when I talk to, certain people, or whatever the case is. It's because they don't have that filter that you have. They don't have that trauma that you have. They don't have the experiences that you grew up with. So they are unconsciously competent because they were blessed with certain experiences that didn't hinder or put mental blocks in the way for certain things. And that's okay. Some people are just built for certain lanes to be in, right? And then some people, like myself, later on, we have to work to train ourselves to fit in that lane. And that's all right. Nothing wrong with it. Either way, you can do something about it and you can make it happen. And lastly, once you begin to audit and take accountability of your beliefs, emotions, and thoughts, you will then be able to operate from what's real instead of what you feel. In other words, that trauma is not going to be painted over your reality as it once was. You'll then be able to see things objectively instead of subjectively. And then from there, you can better maneuver and navigate, because you're dealing with actual factual stuff, right? And so to tie it all together, success leaves clues. We've all heard that. But your part that you have to do once you find those clues is you have to implement them and ingrain them into your lifestyle, because those clues are what's causing that effect to happen, which is success, accolades, notoriety, greatness, whatever the case is. So once you integrate that with yourself and your lifestyle and your psyche, then you're off to the races and success is just around the corner. So I hope you got some value from this. If you got any comments or questions, leave them below, and I'll see you next week.